beneath a moon as thin and cold as a knife edge, Makwa, young hunter of the northern Algonquian people, slips into the snow-drowned forest searching for meat to save his starving village. Instead, he glimpses the stuff of winter nightmares, a towering antler-crowned Wendigo whose very breath curdles the air. I remember the cold first, that wicked-edged chill that razors straight through deerskin and bone. My name is Makwa, a hunter of the northern Algonquian people. The winter moon had climbed only a handspan above the naked birches when I left the safety of our longhouse circle, bow in hand, breath twisting into silver ribbons. Our caches were low. The storm season had driven the caribou south, and every belly in the village murmured like an empty drum. I followed ice-capped tracks deep into ceded hills, trusting the crunch of snow beneath my moccasins to hush the fear creeping up my spine. Somewhere behind the shadow of every tree, I thought, the starving spirits prowled. My grandmother's tales stirred, ghost stories to keep children close to the fires, yet the night felt too silent, too watchful for mere stories. Not a single raven croaked, not a single mouse burrowed, even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then the world exhaled a stench of rot so thick it tasted metallic on my tongue. I crouched, arrow-nocked, and saw it, a silhouette taller than any man, gaunt as a winter-stripped spruce. Grey hide stretched tight over bone, ribs like a cage of knives, eyes aflame with milk-white hunger. Clotted moss and frost clung to its antlered skull. Where it stepped, the snow hissed black and sank. Wendigo. The name rattled through my skull like a death rattle. I dared not blink. The creature tilted its head. Jerk, jerk, sniffing the air for the warmth of flesh. When its eyes found me, the forest groaned. It opened a jaw too wide for bone to allow, lined with fangs carved from human need, and howled. The sound was no mere cry. It was every empty stomach in midwinter given voice. Terror seized my limbs. I loosed the arrow, but the shaft splintered against its breastbone as if against granite. Before its claws could find me, I fled, lungs burning, snow pluming at my heels, the fiend's shriek chasing me through the pines. I crashed through the palisade just before dawn, half frozen, half mad. Torches flared. Warriors dragged me inside the council lodge where bear grease lamps painted crimson on bark walls. My words spilled like thaw. The tracks, the stench, the impossible height, the dead white eyes. The elders' faces hardened, for every Algonquian fire circle keeps the Wendigo story. But a story becomes a wound when blood is fresh upon it. Old Nudin, our shaman, sprinkled cedar ash across the council mat. An ancient hunger walks, he said, voice cracking like rhyme. Hunger that eats the soul, not merely the flesh. And if we do nothing, by next moon it will know the taste of every child's heart. He burned sweetgrass, and the smoke curled into the shape of bony antlers. Our chief, Kichimigizi, slammed his spear butt to the floor. 20 hunters volunteered before the echo faded. I was first among them. No nightmare would dare keep my spirit caged. We stripped to the waist, daubed faces with red ochre, and painted wolf snarl masks upon our cheeks so the Wendigo might see the pack within us. We armed ourselves with obsidian blades, elk bone spears, and bundles of dried sumac soaked in bear fat, the only fire that will burn through winter gales. Women sang war songs into the pre-dawn gloom, drums thundering like heartbeats under earth. The song told the spirits we marched not for conquest, but for balance. The winter hunger must never outweigh the spring's first heartbeat. The trail was easy to follow. Wherever the Wendigo walked, snow melted into foul slush. A half-devoured stag lay sprawled in a hollow, ribs chewed to splinters, eyes gouged, heart missing. The smell of copper and bile coiled in our nostrils. I felt my own ribs ache with phantom bites. One of our younger warriors, Makwa, vomited and swore the antlers dangling from his belt rattled like frightened teeth. Closer to dusk, we found human prints tangled with the creature's tracks, small, barefoot. A hunter whispered that someone from the outlying trapper camp must have strayed into the spirit's path. We quickened our pace, beads of frozen breath rattling like beads on a shaman's drum. Darkness slid between the trees. Above, the moon sharpened into a sickle. The attack fell without warning. A blur of grey and shadow erupted from the tree line, striking Nanabu, the strongest of us, with such force that his spine cracked loud as a burning log. Blood geysered into the air. Nanabu's scream cut off as claws hooked beneath his ribs and ripped upward. We hurled spears. 2 found meat, but only slowed the beast. I saw its ruined throat knit itself closed, as though the flesh remembered hunger more than pain. We formed a circle, shields of rawhide locking like teeth. The Wendigo stalked just beyond spear reach, lips peeled back, steaming drool sizzling where it fell. It began to laugh, a brittle childlike giggle that rose into a woman's sob, then a moose's huff, then the voice of Nanabu begging for help. The forest repeated those stolen sounds, every trunk an echoing drum. Fear gnawed at sanity. Yet we held. Nudin hissed an incantation, flinging cedar dust. I lit the first sumac torch, flame roared hungry as any spirit, cinnamon and tallow thick on the air. The creature flinched, skin blistering. We advanced. Snow crackled, sparks swarmed the dark. The Wendigo darted in, talons hooking Pakwa's leg. I hacked down with my obsidian knife. Black ichor spattered, smoking on the blade. Pakwa screamed but staggered free, tendon dangling like wet sinew. The monster bounded back, but we saw its wound did not heal. Fire, then, was the answer. We encircled with torches raised. The Wendigo tensed, muscles rippling beneath frostbitten hide, until it leapt over us impossibly high, landing behind the line. 2 men fell beneath its swipe, throats opened in red sprays. Their blood steamed, and the scent drove the fiend into frenzy. It ripped flesh in handfuls, cramming meat between jagged teeth faster than it could swallow. Its belly swelled, skin splitting to reveal writhing shapes inside, faces pressed against a membrane of sinew, silently screaming. The sight nearly broke me. We torched the trees instead, flaming rings to pen it in. Wind howled, wood popped, sparks snowed hot across pelts. The Wendigo bellowed, tore free, vanished into rising smoke. How could such a towering horror disappear? We listened. Snow hissed, branches charred, our dead cooled into silence, until a distant cry, high and thin as icicles clinking, carried on the wind. A child's cry. Night swallowed the sky. We tracked by moonlight, ghosting through corridors of embered trunks. Frost stitched our lashes. Pakwa limped, blood freezing to his calf wrap, but refused to turn back. I felt hunger gnawing me from within, not for food, but for vengeance. Each heartbeat drummed Nanabu, Nanabu against my ribs. Just past midnight we reached the lake, frozen glass under starlight. In the centre crouched the Wendigo, talons sunk through ice into black water, slurping as though the world were its marrow to sip. And beside it, knees tucked to chest, sat a boy from the trapper camp, alive, though tears had frozen to his cheeks. The fiend stroked the child's hair with ruin-tipped claws, cooing in a dozen stolen voices, a mother, a lover, a grandmother, each sweeter than sugar bark. Kishmagizi raised his hand. Firelight danced on his spearhead. On his signal we fanned across the shore, torches held low. Every crunch of snow sounded like thunder across that glass. 20 paces, 15, 10. The Wendigo slowly turned its antlered head, regarding each flame as one might regard an insect. Then it smiled. The lake boomed. Cracks webbed outward. The creature plunged an arm beneath the ice, yanked free a struggling lake trout, and devoured it bones and all, never breaking our stare. I tasted bile. Somehow that single gesture told us, I can feed forever. You will starve. For a heartbeat, courage fluttered like the lone feather left on a butchered bird. Then the boy cried out my name. He knew me, son of a friend, and the ice inside my heart shattered. I sprinted first, torch in one hand, hafted knife in the other. The ice moaned beneath my weight, but vengeance lent fleetness. My brothers followed, a comet tail of flame. The Wendigo hurled shards of ice like daggers. One pierced Makwa's throat. He fell without sound, torch rolling, sputtering in scarlet snow. The fiend seized the boy and raised him overhead as a shield. Shoot, and you kill him, its eyes seemed to say. Nudin began to chant the ancient tongue, words older than frost. He scattered bare fat powder onto my torch. Flame leapt white-blue dazzling. I met his gaze, understood. Together we roared and charged. My feet skated, arms pinwheeled, heart hammered. At 10 paces I hurled the torch. Blue fire arced through starlight and struck the creature's shoulder, blooming across hide. It screeched, dropped the child, and staggered back. Steam gushed from ignited flesh. I vaulted, sliding on knees, catching the boy, spinning to shield him. The others advanced, driving the monster toward the lake's center. Ice cracked like rifle fire beneath its thrashing hooves. Flames chewed up its torso. Charred ribs glowed through skin. Yet still it fought. Its hunger was an empire unwilling to crumble. It lunged, caught Keisha McGeezy's spear, twisted, snapped the shaft, and rammed the jagged end through the chief's chest. My cry tore from lungs raw as winter wind. Fury blinded me. I would not allow this devourer to carry another name into its ribcage of souls. I handed the boy to a warrior, ripped the broken spear from the chief's body, and rushed forward. The ice spider-cracked, water rushing onto my moccasins, instantly numbing flesh. I leapt, driving the bloody spear point up beneath the Wendigo's jaw, through palate, into the skull. Obsidian knife followed, hacked into thrumming neck cords. I was screaming prayers and curses at once, promises to the Great Spirit, threats to the demon, pleas to the dead. The Wendigo convulsed. Black smoke poured from its mouth, voices of every meal it had ever swallowed, howling their release. It clawed at me, scoring furrows down my chest, yet I clung tighter. Nudin flung a final handful of bare fat powder. Flames roared up the creature's throat, bursting from eye sockets like twin suns. Heat seared my face, hair crisped, nostrils filled with the stink of burning corruption. With a thunderous crack, the ice gave way, and both fiend and I plunged into the abyss. Black water closed over us, a tomb colder than death. Fire hissed out, replaced by bubbles of charred gore. The Wendigo's corpse writhed, still seeking flesh and reflex. In that drowning darkness, I felt its heartbeat falter and stop. Its talons loosened. I kicked upward, lungs screaming, and broke the surface into bitter moonlight. Strong arms hauled me onto the ruined ice shelf. Behind us, the lake roared as if vomiting poison. Flames flickered across refreezing water, then guttered into night. Where the Wendigo sank, only a circle of glass as black as obsidian remained, as though the beast had burned a hole through the very reflection of the sky. We limped home in silence, carrying our wounded, dragging our dead. 7 hunters would never again taste spring strawberries. Keisha McGeezy's body we wrapped in otter skins, his spear fragments bound atop so his spirit would remember valor. The boy lived, though nightmares carved trenches beneath his eyes. At dawn, a crimson sun rose over charcoaled treetops. The women keened, The children watched us with the hollow awe reserved for those who have walked past the veil and returned. Newton declared the balance restored, but warned that hunger is an itch the world itself can never quite scratch. Guard your hearts, he told the people. The Wendigo is dead, yet the silence that birthed him still prowls between our ribs. That night I lay beneath smoked hides, bandages oozing sap and blood. Sleep came thin and brittle. Somewhere in the wind outside the longhouse walls, I swore I heard a whisper, Makwa, aha. A voice stretched thin by distance, by death, by the starving spaces between stars. I told myself it was only the blizzard worrying at the eaves, but my hand slid to the obsidian blade beside my pallet all the same. Because once you have seen the hunger that wears a human face, you never truly stop listening for its footsteps in the snow.